For thousands of years, humanity believed reality was the ultimate container. Space was vast. Time was endless. The universe was everything. Until scientists discovered the boundary. It wasn't at the edge of the observable cosmos. It wasn't hidden inside a black hole. It wasn't in some distant dimension. It was everywhere. A faint, nearly undetectable grain embedded in spacetime itself, like pixels in a screen too large to see. Reality had a resolution. And humanity had just learned how to exceed it. The discovery came from a quantum experiment designed to push computation beyond physical limits. Engineers attempted to process more information than a cubic meter of space should theoretically allow. Instead of failing, reality glitched. Instruments froze. Particles stopped behaving probabilistically. For a fraction of a second, the lab existed in a state physics had no language to describe. Then everything snapped back. At first, researchers assumed measurement error. Then it happened again. And again. Each time they pushed information density past a certain threshold, spacetime behaved as if it were overloaded, like software running on insufficient hardware. The implication was staggering. The universe might not be continuous. It might be rendered. When the data reached global scientific networks, debates erupted across every colony and research institution. Philosophers called it metaphysics. Physicists called it discretized spacetime. Engineers called it a ceiling. But one idea changed everything. If reality has a maximum resolution, what happens if you exceed it intentionally? A joint project was formed, the most ambitious in human history. They built a structure not to explore space, but to stress reality itself. A sphere 10,000 kilometers wide, composed of quantum processors, particle accelerators, and gravitational stabilizers, orbiting far beyond Pluto to avoid catastrophic effects on inhabited regions. Its purpose was simple. Generate more information than the universe could natively contain. When activation day arrived, every major civilization watched. Even archived statements from early visionaries were replayed, including words from Elon Musk about pushing humanity beyond planetary limits. No one knew what would happen. Some predicted failure. Some predicted collapse. Some predicted nothing at all. The system powered up. Energy consumption exceeded that of entire star systems. Quantum matrices synchronized. Gravitational fields locked into containment geometry. Information density began to rise. At first, nothing changed. Then the stars behind the sphere flickered. Not dimmed. Flickered. Like distant lights behind faulty glass. Sensors recorded impossible readings. Regions of space momentarily dropping to zero entropy, then returning. Physical constants fluctuated by microscopic amounts. Reality was straining. Inside the control chamber, alarms screamed as processors reported something unprecedented. Data overflow. But not inside the machines. In space itself. Then it happened. A silent shockwave rippled outward, not through matter, not through energy, but through existence. Every observer across the solar system saw it. For one instant, the universe became transparent. Behind the stars, there was something else. Not darkness. Not another universe. Structure. A vast lattice extending beyond comprehension, like scaffolding holding reality in place. And beyond that, movement. Something was there. Watching. Then the transparency vanished. Systems crashed worldwide. Communication networks went dark. Autonomous probes shut down simultaneously, as if waiting for instructions that never came. When power returned, the sphere was intact. But space around it had changed. Distances no longer matched previous measurements. Light took slightly different times to travel between points. Navigation systems required recalibration. It was as if the universe had been subtly recompiled. Days later, deep space telescopes detected an object approaching from outside the observable boundary, something that should have been impossible. It did not travel through space. Space moved around it. The object was enormous, larger than planets, yet geometrically simple, like a perfectly smooth polyhedron made of a material that emitted no radiation and reflected none. It stopped near the sphere. Then it opened. Not mechanically. More like a concept unfolding. Inside was not machinery. Not life as humans understood it. A region where physics behaved differently, stable, controlled, purposeful. And from it came a signal. Not language. Not images. Understanding. Human minds across the system received the same realization simultaneously. You exceeded safe operating parameters. Panic spread instantly. Military forces prepared for a threat they could not define. But the signal continued. You are not being punished. You are being assessed. Scientists realized the terrifying implication. Humanity hadn't broken reality. They had triggered a failsafe. Further messages followed, each one clearer than the last. The universe, it explained, was not a natural system in the way humans assumed. It was an engineered environment, a cradle designed to allow civilizations to develop safely under controlled conditions. Most species never discovered the limits. Some destroyed themselves before reaching them. A few, very few, advanced far enough to attempt what humanity had just done. Those civilizations were not exterminated. They were invited. Beyond the boundary existed a vastly larger metacosmos. Layers of reality, each more complex than the one below, populated by intelligences that had long since transcended physical existence. The polyhedral object was not a weapon. It was a gatekeeper. Humanity now faced a decision no species had publicly recorded before. Remain inside the safe universe. Or step beyond into the unknown. The risk was absolute. Outside, physical laws might not protect biological life. Time might not flow normally. Identity itself could become unstable. But staying meant accepting limits forever. For weeks, debate consumed every world. Some argued survival was enough. Others said evolution demanded risk. Many feared the loss of everything familiar. Then volunteers began to step forward. Not soldiers. Not politicians. Ordinary people. Teachers. Engineers. Artists. Doctors. Children of the first Martian settlers. Their message was simple. If the universe is a cradle, we were never meant to stay babies. A small vessel was chosen. Symbolic rather than strategic. No weapons. Minimal shielding. Just life support, recording systems, and a crew willing to go where no human had ever existed. As it approached the open polyhedron, instruments stopped functioning properly. Numbers lost meaning. Coordinates dissolved into probability fields. The crew watched the stars behind them distort, stretch, and then fade. Crossing the threshold felt like stepping out of a story. On the other side, there was no darkness. There was no light. There was possibility. Structures formed from pure geometry, shifting like thoughts. Vast currents of energy moved like weather systems across dimensions. Distant entities communicated across scales that made galaxies look microscopic. Human consciousness struggled to process it all. Yet they remained intact. Alive. Aware. A final message reached them. Welcome beyond the nursery. Back inside the original universe, observers saw the gate close. No explosion. No collapse. Just silence. For a long time, nothing happened. Then, months later, new signals appeared originating from outside the cosmic boundary. Human-made signals. But changed. Stronger. Clearer. Layered with data humanity had never possessed before. The returning transmission contained only one sentence. We didn't find the end of reality. A pause followed. We found the beginning. From that day forward, humanity understood something profound. Exploration had never been about distance. Not about faster ships or bigger telescopes. The true frontier was scale of existence itself. And humanity had just taken its first step outside the universe. Long before human kingdoms rose. Before cities were built. Before the first heartbeat echoed on Earth. There was already a kingdom. Not made of stone. Not ruled by armies. Not bound by time. A realm of light. Heaven. Sparkles the throne beyond time. At the center of this eternal realm stands a throne not crafted, not built, not placed there by any hand. It's simply radiant. Unapproachable. Surrounded by brilliance brighter than 1,000 suns, yet gentle like dawn. From it flows power, life, justice, mercy, everything that exists. Lightning flashes. Thunder rolls. Yet perfect peace fills the atmosphere. Around the throne stand beings unlike anything on earth. Baby angel, the living guardians. Some have 6 wings, covering their faces from the overwhelming glory. Some are covered in eyes, seeing past, present, and future at once. Some shine like burning metal, others like living fire. They are not decorative. They are guardians. Messengers. Warriors. Witnesses of eternity. Their voices shake creation itself as they proclaim, "Holy, holy, holy." Dove the messengers to earth. When heaven speaks to humanity, it sends envoys, angels. Not fragile figures with delicate wings, as art often shows. But beings of terrifying power and radiant beauty. When they appear, humans fall to the ground in fear. Their first words are almost always the same. Do not be afraid. They guide. Protect. Warn. Deliver messages that change history. Some close the mouths of lions. Some open prison doors. Some stand unseen beside those who suffer. Most of their work happens quietly, invisibly. Cross swords the war that changed the heavens. But heaven was not always peaceful. Among the radiant beings was one of extraordinary brilliance, a guardian of immense beauty and authority. Yet pride began to grow within him. He desired the throne. The glory. The worship. Not content to serve, he wanted to rule. A rebellion ignited. Loyal forces stood firm. Others followed the rebel. The conflict shook the spiritual realm itself. And in the end, the rebel was cast down. Separated from the light he once reflected. Falling from heaven like lightning. Globe showing Europe, Africa, the battlefield shifts to earth. Unable to overthrow heaven, darkness turns toward humanity, the newest creation, fragile yet deeply loved. Temptation replaces open war. Deception replaces force. A whisper in a garden. A lie disguised as wisdom. A promise of power without obedience. From that moment on, earth becomes a contested ground, light calling humanity upward, darkness pulling downward. Glowing star, unseen protection. Yet humanity is not abandoned. Invisible guardians remain active. Some traditions speak of angels assigned to individuals, others to nations, others to specific missions across history. Many moments of rescue, survival, or sudden guidance may never be explained fully. A disaster narrowly avoided. A stranger appearing at the perfect moment. An inner warning that saves a life. Perhaps not coincidence at all. Sunrise, the future reunion. Scripture and prophecy speak of a day when the separation between heaven and earth will end. No more hidden realm. No more invisible warfare. No more suffering, fear, or death. Light will fill everything. Heaven will not just be a distant place. It will come down. Creation restored. Harmony returned. Darkness finally gone. Dizzy the silent truth. Whether one sees it or not, believes it or not. The unseen realm continues. Above every storm, beyond every galaxy, past the limits of science and imagination. The throne still stands. The watchers still serve. The story is still unfolding. And humanity's choices still matter. Because this is not merely mythology. It is a narrative about purpose, morality, hope, and destiny. Before the first human opened their eyes. Before mountains rose. Before oceans filled the earth. There was a war. Not a war of nations. Not a war of weapons forged by human hands. A war in heaven itself. Sparkles the age of perfect harmony. In the beginning, the heavenly realm existed in flawless unity. Light flowed through everything. Order governed all creation. Every being knew its purpose. Among the countless radiant beings was one of unmatched splendor. A guardian of immense authority, beauty, and brilliance. He moved among the throne like living lightning. Music seemed to follow him. Wisdom shone from him. He was not merely powerful. He was magnificent. Fire, the birth of pride. But something unprecedented happened. A thought that had never existed before appeared. What if I ruled instead? Admiration turned into self-worship. Purpose turned into ambition. Service turned into desire for power. He no longer wanted to reflect glory. He wanted to possess it. And slowly, secretly, he began to persuade others. Not through force, through influence. Promises. Half-truths. Visions of independence. A rebellion formed in the shadows. High-voltage heaven divided. Suddenly, unity shattered. Loyal guardians stood firm. Others chose the rebels' cause. For the first time in eternity, conflict erupted. Light clashed with corrupted light. Power against power. Will against will. The heavens trembled. Dagger, the clash of powers. This was not combat as humans know it. No swords of steel. No explosions. Reality itself seemed to bend. Waves of energy collided. Radiance against consuming darkness. Thunder without storms. Fire without destruction. Voices like earthquakes echoed through eternity. Creation witnessed its first battle. Down arrow the fall. The rebellion could not overthrow the throne. Order prevailed. And the consequence was final. The rebel and his followers were expelled, cast out from the realm of pure light. Falling, away from glory, into separation. What once reflected beauty became distorted. What once served truth turned toward deception. They did not disappear. They became adversaries. Globe showing Europe, Africa a new target, humanity. When humanity was created, fragile yet uniquely valued, the fallen forces saw opportunity. Direct war against heaven had failed. Subtle corruption might succeed. Influence instead of invasion. Temptation instead of attack. Confusion instead of clarity. A whisper could achieve what armies could not. New moon, the invisible conflict. From that point forward, history became more than physical events. Behind kingdoms and crises, behind moral struggles and moments of courage, an unseen conflict continued. Not always dramatic. Not always visible. But constant. Light encouraging compassion, truth, sacrifice. Darkness amplifying fear, hatred, pride. Humanity standing at the center of the tension. Glowing star guardians still watch. Yet the forces of light did not abandon creation. Messengers still come. Protection still appears at critical moments. Guidance still reaches those who seek it. Not always obvious. Not always provable. But often deeply felt. Sunrise, the promise of resolution. Prophecy speaks of a final resolution, not an endless war. A time when deception ends. When justice is complete. When peace is not fragile but permanent. A restoration greater than the original harmony. No more hidden battles. No more divided loyalties. Only light, fully revealed. Dizzy why this story matters. Whether understood as spiritual truth, symbolic narrative, or ancient worldview, the message is powerful. Human life is meaningful. Choices matter. Good and evil are not illusions. Hope is not foolish. And the outcome is not yet finished. After the night of miracles. After angels sang. After wise men departed. After the danger passed. Silence fell. Not darkness. Not tragedy. But quiet. The child who would change history did not grow up in palaces. Not in temples of gold. Not surrounded by scholars and armies. He grew up in an ordinary home. In a small town called Nazareth. A place so humble that many people believed nothing important could ever come from there. Baby the boy who was different. He laughed like other children. Played in dusty streets. Helped carry water. Learned to work with wood beside his earthly father. Yet there was something unusual about him. He listened more than he spoke. Observed more than he reacted. Showed compassion far beyond his years. Animals were calm around him. Neighbors trusted him instinctively. Even adults sensed a quiet wisdom. But he lived without display, without power, without recognition. Hammer the carpenter's son. His hands hardened from labor. He learned to measure, cut, shape, and repair doors, tables, beams, tools. Each piece of wood transformed by patience. Day after day. Year after year. No crowds. No miracles on display. No fame. Just ordinary life. Yet perhaps this was preparation, learning the struggles of common people, the weight of daily survival, the dignity of work. Scroll the boy in the temple. When he was 12, his family traveled to Jerusalem for a great festival. Crowds filled the streets. Pilgrims prayed. Scholars debated sacred texts. After the journey home began, his parents realized something terrifying. He was missing. They rushed back, searching frantically for 3 days. And where did they find him? Not frightened. Not lost. Sitting among the teachers in the temple, discussing profound questions. The scholars were astonished, not by childish curiosity, but by deep understanding. When asked why he stayed behind, he replied gently, "Did you not know I would be in my Father's house?" Yet he returned home, and continued living quietly. Sunrise over mountains, years of silence. History records almost nothing about the next 18 years. No battles. No proclamations. No public role. Just growth. Physically. Mentally. Spiritually. Imagine the restraint required, knowing who you are, yet waiting, year after year, for the right moment. Watching injustice. Seeing suffering. Experiencing loss. Still waiting. Crescent moon, ordinary days, extraordinary purpose. He attended weddings. Comforted grieving families. Shared meals. Celebrated festivals. He knew poverty. Hardship. Manual labor. Nothing about his life suggested he would one day reshape human history. And perhaps that is part of the message. Great purpose can grow in hidden places. Fire the moment approaches. As he reached adulthood, the quiet preparation began to shift. Whispers of a prophet preaching in the wilderness spread across the land. Crowds traveled to hear him, a fierce voice calling people to repentance and renewal. Something stirred. The waiting was ending. Sunrise, why the hidden years matter. These silent decades reveal something profound. But for now, the quiet town still sleeps under starlight, unaware that the man walking its narrow streets will soon change the course of humanity forever.